Well, first topic I think we can cover is just like your hero pool. So you just recently started the game, so I imagine you're probably exploring, trying to figure out like what you like best, what characters, what roles you like best, what you're trying to just figure out what works for you, which is very very good. I would just basically alert you to the fact that if you do continue to just play all of the different characters and all the different roles, then you'll just be improving at a slower pacing than if you
Yeah.
kind of had a more specialized into a specific role. Just
Mm,
because you'll have more time to practice those specific play styles and whatnot. They all have different abilities and ultimates and things like
mm,
that. So that would be one of my recommendations is think about like what the most fun role to you is or what the most fun characters are, and try to limit your hero pool a little bit. Now that also, like you said, you're focused on winning and climbing and getting better. So if that's your priority, that would be my recommendation. Though, if you're just trying
okay.
to have fun, then it's also not a problem to be flexible. But fastest climbing is going to come if you pick like 2 to 3 characters on the same role. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. So
Mhm.
basically, I would try to focus on DPS then,
Sure. Okay.
because that's where I actually see that I got progress, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
basically playing. My main role for now is DPS, and
Mm-hmm.
well, I started with tanks since Morga came out and
Mm-hmm.
Orisa, but I mainly main on DPS for the moment. It's
Mm-hmm.
Sojourn. I discovered that hero for myself
Mm-hmm.
after a few tries because from the design I hated her, but then I was like, oh, it's basically Soldier 76. Just
Mm-hmm.
the aim is actually easier. There is no recoil.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing a lot of Sojourn, Bastion in the beginning, but now I kind of neglected Bastion, as you will see in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been experimenting on Echo as well
Mm.
lately, but Sombra as well.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Like I said, like it's totally fine to keep experimenting, especially if there's characters you haven't touched yet. But if you find characters that you're not interested in, then you can you know cross them off the list and just try to I'd say just try to find what you like as quick as possible so that you can start actually getting good at them.
Mm,
All right. Well, I will just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about, and we'll hop right into it.
okay. Here I did a mistake. I jumped in front of the wall very quickly. The
Yep. Yep.
Rhine picked up on it.
Yep, so just jumping ahead of our team, like you said. Other thing of smaller note is just make sure not to hold down your fire button if you're not having anything immediately on your screen to fire at, because then that's just gonna
Okay.
save you ammo and mean that when you can shoot at a target, you're not running out of ammo, because you might run into the problem where like you're shooting and shooting and shooting at like walls or just like when there's nobody
Mm.
there, and then you go and you see, oh, that person's 1 HP, and then you run out of ammo and you can't you can't actually kill them, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep. So usually you can just let go, or even you can use that time to reload it if you have a lull in time. But usually the better option is just to let go. Uh-oh. So taking damage there. We're gonna probably take a minute to talk about a bunch of different things. One
Mm.
smaller point of note is that when you see that you're taking damage, I'd recommend to just and I think you're on console, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you're probably gonna want to bind "I need healing" as a keybind. You can maybe do that like on a D-pad or something like that, and just have it as an button that you can press, because it's just a handy button. Because when you press
Mm.
"I need healing," it's going to alert your support to the fact that you need healing, but also it's going to give them an in-game audio cue so they can find you much easier. So if your supports are
Okay.
if they're both facing the opposite direction here, they might be able to hear, oh, you need healing, and turn around and heal you up. So just a
Okay.
handy one to have available. So that's one thing. We'll talk about positioning in a minute, and how you can reduce damage and not take as much, and that probably could help keep us
Okay.
alive there. You see like a little bit more holding
Yeah.
down. Okay, so right here, if you notice, we're down a few of our teammates, so we probably don't want to be pushing too far in. Generally,
Mhm.
you want to try to group up with your team, because right now it is a 1, 2, I mean, there's soldiers running back from spawn, but it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2, 3, and then your soldier's like a mile away from you guys, so it's not like he's
Mhm.
going to be too much of help.
Mhm.
You're down your tank, so right now we're at a big disadvantage, so you don't want to run back in on a big disadvantage, because then you're just gonna
Mhm.
you end up dying again. You know, look, we probably die here at Imagine. Let's see. Right, you die again. So now what this
Mhm.
does for you and your team is this is called staggering. Is that a term you're familiar with yet?
No, no.
So staggering is basically just anytime you die, you or your teammates die late, right, from the rest of your team, and then that creates a problem because now your other teammates are coming out of spawn, and they have two choices. They can either wait for you, in which case you've just wasted a bunch of time, or they can run in without you, and then now they're at a disadvantage, and they're going to be more likely to lose the fight without you, right? So it's a kind of a dilemma.
Mhm.
Um, and then the problem, if they run back in without you, is they can start a stagger train where now, notice how you died, and then Alari's probably going to die, right? Oh, does Alari die? Yep, and then Alari dies, and then now Soldier's probably going to die, right?
Mhm.
Right, and then he dies, right? So then you have Mercy and Reinhardt who are coming back from spawn, and then what if they push him, and then they could die? So then you just have, one person goes in and dies, and then two people go in and die, and then one person goes in and dies, and then it just keeps going and going, and then you never actually get a full team fight in, right? So that's what you call stagger
Mhm.
train. Really, you want to just avoid that, and that can start. I mean, you can communicate it, but it starts with you not doing it yourself, right? Um, if you're just waiting for your team, looking around, paying attention to where they're at, watching kill feeds can be really handy. We'll probably go over that later on in the session, or at some point we'll go over how to know whether or not you've won or lost fights. But the big thing is try not to push in without your teammates. Try not to stagger. All that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. Okay, now you can see Reinhardt's pushing in by himself and he dies. Right? And then
Yeah.
now we have to wait on Ryan, but then we don't wait on Reinhardt, which means that we could push in and die ourselves, right? Because it's just the four of us. Or if we do engage here, we'll just be at a disadvantage. Nice. Almost. Do we do that again after we kill him? What's funny is that we've done that a couple times where we're using our nade after we've killed the person. We did that on the soldier earlier too. So
Yeah.
just something to watch, and you can probably be doing that earlier on when you first are looking at them, or when they're like half
Mhm.
HP, instead of when they're actually when they're dead.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over some more basics. And this is also your first FPS game, right?
No,
Or
I
no?
played COD basically, but that was still on PS3 times.
Gotcha, gotcha. It's a while ago then. Alright, so let's go over Bastion here. So first let's talk about positioning. This is going to be general positioning, so it's going to apply to every character, pretty much.
Okay.
If I'm standing right here, right, and the enemy team is standing over there, and they're all
Mm.
looking at you and shooting at you, right, and they're ulting and things like that, so you're like, I gotta run away. It's going to take you 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now from cover, you're perfectly safe. You cannot shoot through solid objects, so we're chilling. But the problem
Mm.
is that in the time it took us to walk here, we died because we were just out in the open for way too long. Um, Whereas from here, we can do a lot of the same stuff, right? We can melt people, bam, bam. But you can now, in half a second, get behind cover, right? Which is
Yeah.
like 6 times faster than what it took us there. So, therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. So the further away we stray from it, the worse off we're going to be, because then they can just shoot us and we'll take a ton of damage and probably die.
Mm.
And the great thing is it covers all over the place, right? You have slopes that you can use. You have pillars in between shots while you're reloading to negate damage. You have corners that do the same exact thing, right? You have other random objects like the payload, pillar, corner, doorway, corner, doorway. And then while we're here, we haven't really seen too much high ground usage, but we'll talk about high ground usage anyways. High ground also is really great. It all acts as natural cover. They can see you, now they can't. See you, now they can't, right? So as long as you're using it right, like here we can't do that, but as long as we're using high ground right, it acts as natural cover. Also, 2/3 of the characters can't get to you without taking the stairs. The other third mostly needs to use abilities, which just gives us additional survivability. And then also you have a ton of visibility. We can see here, here, there, there, there. Low ground, though we can't see over there. Can't see over there. You can't see any of the high ground, right? So lots of survivability and visibility. So once again, high ground's also going to be really great for you. And that's some positioning staples. That all makes sense. Any questions?
No, for now, no questions.
Cool. So that, I think, like the first death we had, we were just standing a little bit out in the open, and we couldn't really do very much about it because they shot at us, and it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do if they're shooting at you? It's not like you can stop them, but you can't. If you're standing next to cover, you can stop them just by doing that. So next, let's talk about some aim and mechanics. So I think that your mechanics look like they could use a bit of work, just like actually landing shots. A lot of the like we said before, there's a lot of times where we're just like holding down our shots as we're like slowly acquiring our target. But besides that, sometimes we're just like off targets a little bit. When we're on targets, it's not very efficient. So we'll talk about a bunch of different things that can hopefully help you get your aim down a little bit better. Firstly, let's talk about crosshair placement, as it's something that is going to be very useful to help you land your shots. Crosshair placement, in my own words, is basically using your brain to help your aim. You're putting your crosshair in the best place possible to make shots as easy as possible and get the most value. So first step to this is going to be aiming head level, because headshots do a lot more damage than body shots. As you can see on a character like that, across most characters, it's about 2 times damage. So 1, 2, 3, 4 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shots, right? So it's doing approximately 2 times damage across most characters, which is very valuable, because not only when you land those headshots, not only is it 2 times faster, but also the slower you get a kill, the more time they have to get healed, escape, use an ability. Basically, the slower you're killing someone, the more likely you are to not actually kill them, because they'll get away somehow. But the quicker you kill someone, then the quicker they die, and you'll actually get the kill. So it's probably more like 2 to 3 times faster, really, in all actuality. So how to do this? If we're aiming down here, there's so much adjustment to be made. We have to aim up to the left, up to the right. It's more adjustment means harder shot to land, right? The more you have to adjust. But if we're aiming here, we just go left, we just go right. It becomes much simpler if we're just staying at the same plane. If I'm just doing your own like you're just shooting down shields, shooting down corridors, shooting into people, and we're aiming at body level, well, we'll just naturally be hitting body shots. But if we're aiming up at head level and doing all the same stuff, shooting into shields, shooting down corridors, shooting into people, well, we'll naturally be hitting headshots instead. It just becomes it becomes very natural. Same thing here, except for this is going to be pre-aiming, so aiming where you know people are going to be. So if we know that this person's around the corner here, I'm not going to like turn the corner and do a slow pan into them. I'm going to be turning the corner, already aiming at head level, right? So I'm going to line it up, turn the corner, very easy shots, because I already have my crosshair where it wants to be. These guys are
Mm.
on like a slope, so the same way you'd look down on a Torbjorn and like up on a tank. Here we're going to look down on them, so when we turn this corner, we're already aiming at head level, right? Very easy shots because we're just already lining them up. All that makes sense? Any questions on it?
No, perfect.
Cool. Let's talk about some other aim training and warm-ups and things like that. You say you play for like 3 hours. Do you typically warm up before you play comp?
Lately I've been using the aim training, yes,
Mm,
because my girlfriend actually gave me the link for the custom game that is aim
mm-hmm.
training. I
Gotcha.
didn't even know about it until
Mm-hmm.
recently.
Mm-hmm. Cool, cool. Yeah. So I'm imagining you're probably using one of the customs. There's actually a couple of them too. So here are my recommendations for warm up. So that's good. Do that. Do like 10 to 15 minutes before playing comp. Just gets your aim all fresh. Because when you're doing the big thing is even day to day your aim will deteriorate, right?
Mm.
You won't come in tomorrow and forget like how to use an ability or where to stand, but you will come in and your aim will not be as good as it was the day before because it just deteriorates quickly. And you gotta just get it back fresh, and that's what the warm up is for, right? So 10 to 15 minutes of a high aim intensive game mode. It can be aim training. I might also
Mm.
recommend not just doing aim training. It might even be more valuable for you to do something like Try Hard Free for All or Gun Game is also going to be another really good one in custom game lobbies. You can just look for those, and
Mm.
there's usually one running because they will like something. They're once again high aim intensive. There's no teammates. There's no objectives. You're just shooting at stuff. You're learning how to duel. You're practicing your mechanics,
Mm.
and you're just learning how to fight people. So that might be a little even especially if you're early on. It might be handy because then you'll firstly be practicing your aim, but you'll also be practicing your aim on multiple different characters. If you're doing something like gun game, you'll cycle through all the characters, so you start to get a feel for all the abilities and ultimates. So you'll be able to learn them better and get a sense of the game while still warming up. And it's also high aim intensive. Triad Free For All is going to be an excellent place to learn how to duel people and take engagements, and not just shooting at bots who don't shoot
Mm.
back, sort of thing. So you can rotate them and like do one day, the next day. Feel free to do whatever. But that might be a recommendation. It's just play against
Okay.
some real people too, just in high aim intensive game modes. If you're trying to keep this consistent and not just warm up, but also like practice, you can do that in between queues as well, while you're playing, so that you can just keep practicing. I might
Mm.
also recommend, now this is 100% just up to you and your availability, and life obviously takes priority. But
Mm.
if you have the availability to, those days that you're not playing, maybe you just get on for like a 10-15 minute warm up, right? And then that just helps keep your aim fresh instead of going extra days that your aim's deteriorating, where
Mm.
you will be able to practice and keep it more consistent as you're playing instead of just not playing at all. So it doesn't have to be whole games. Like I said, it could just be a warm up, and then of course
Mm.
if life takes priority, then life takes priority. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Mm.
Right? Does that all make sense? Any questions on it?
No, perfect. That's
Cool.
already a lot of tips.
Cool. All right. I think we can hop back in for the moment. All right. Wait. Oh, we are Busan. All right. Cool. So you can see here the first time we died was a lack of cover. So you can
Mm.
see how where you're standing is just very out in the open. So they turn and kill us. We can't really do anything. So alternatives is we could be hugging this much tighter, which means that we can still shoot at stuff. Except right now, Roadhog goes for the hook and we go, Pam, Roadhog can't see me, right? Or hugging this
Mm.
left side, right? Where once again, same stuff. Except for now, I can duck around the corner. being up here on the high ground, same thing, right? I can duck around the corner, right? Just not being smack dab in the middle.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're... So here you can see holding it down, looking, notice how we're looking super low. So you can see on Soldier here, we're looking at his toes, right? So it's just gonna mean we're killing them slower.
Instead of looking high, yeah.
And then you can see like even simple stuff like this where you have like pre-aiming, right? Aiming where you know they're gonna be. So you can see how like we're looking around this corner. We just saw him go to the right side, right? And yet notice how where our crosshair gets placed is we're looking like in the sky to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to drag it
Yeah.
back down to the right, and then we're just like kind of looking in funky places. Oh, oh, almost.
Yeah.
Now we're in a little bit better of a place. There you go. So just being intentional with where your crosser's at.
Yeah.
Your because we're looking so low, that's gonna go low. You gotta give it a little bit of an arc. So right with your grenade, it's gonna like kind of go up and go down. So we gotta like look up a little bit. So let's go a little bit further. Recommend probably doing that around the corner, because let's say Soldier just peeks here, he can shoot us for free, right? Whereas if we take 2 seconds to get around the corner, well then we don't have nearly as much that can shoot at you for free, right? So just use cover before you ult, because you're sitting duck when you're ulting.
Mm.
Yeah, requesting healing, maybe taking this like backside instead of through the open, right? Because back over here, there's even a health pack that you can grab. Oof, unfortunate.
Oh.
All right, let's talk about a little bit of like mindset, because we have plenty of sessions, so we'll be touching on like hopefully most of everything. So we've already given you a couple basics here, but let's talk about some mindset and improvement processes. How do you want to think so that you can get better? And hopefully, the objective is that you will be able to get better even when we're not actively having sessions. So you'll be able to self-identify mistakes is what I will hopefully be able to train you to do. And part of that will be you'll start to pick up on it as we do a bunch of sessions, but then also you can follow this process. And this is the process that I took when I got better at Overwatch. I started out in season 3 of Overwatch 1. I started out in Silver, and in about a year after that, I hit GM, and then at some point, I can't remember the timeline exactly, maybe half a year to a year after that, then I hit like top 50, top 100 a couple times in my career, and all of that is through this self-improvement process. I didn't get coaching or anything like that. It was just basically you want to look at your own gameplay. You can do this in-game, out-of-game. I did it in-game. I'd recommend, well, if we're ever not doing coaching sessions, replays are a great place to look at your own mistakes, but also not a necessity. I did it without replays. But what you can do is watch your gameplay. Even while you are playing, you can do it in between deaths, in between rounds, in between games. And you want to look at your game and think about, what mistakes have I made? What are the issues within the mistakes? What are the solutions to the mistakes? And how can I apply those solutions? And you want to put that into action. So let me give you an example so you can figure this out, so you can kind of start to see it. very easy example of mistakes is deaths, because everybody knows deaths are bad and they're pretty
Mm.
apparent and obvious, right? Um, but if I just came into this coaching session and I said, "You're dying too much. Bye," and then I was done, probably wouldn't give me a very good review, right? Because it's not very
No.
helpful. It's not very helpful just to say you die, right?
Yeah.
So when you're coaching yourself, don't just leave it at, "Oh, I died too much," because that's not helpful for actually improving. So take it a step further and think, why did you die? That's the issue within the mistake. So why did you die? What are some common reasons do you think that people would die in Overwatch?
Yeah. Like you said, the lack of cover.
Yep.
Because they run in front. Like I'm a DPS, I should wait for my tank to
Mm-hmm.
give me a little bit of pressure so I can take pressure off me,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I should focus on the squishes instead of trying to take on the tank myself.
Yep. Um, so then you mentioned poor positioning as well as maybe overextension, running too far in.
Yeah.
Other ones could be lack of awareness, right? Like not noticing someone who sneaks up behind you, or not noticing that you don't have your whole team with you, right?
Mm.
Or misuse of abilities, such as if you like slide into their team, or you don't use an ability to escape if you have it. Poor movement, right? Like if you're running in straight lines or standing still, or even just losing a duel, mechanically losing. There's a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So you want to think through. Then once you think, you want to think through this solution. A lot of times the solution's pretty simple. It's just the opposite of the problem. So if you're dying because you're out
Mm.
in the open, well then use cover. Don't be out in the open. If you're dying because you are not paying attention, then pay attention and you won't die as much. And that's your solution. And then applying the solution, you want to make sure that you're actively you want to make sure that you're actively focusing on the thing you want to work on. That you're not just autopiloting or playing to play. And contrary to popular belief, you're not just purely playing to win, but you're playing to improve,
Mm.
because then you'll actually start winning more. And what that will look like is you're going to pick something out, like let's say for example, positioning, right? Because we already talked about that. And you're going to think to
Yeah.
yourself, positioning, 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 cover, 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 high grounds, high grounds, high grounds. And as you give yourself all of these different reminders to think about your positioning's probably going to be a bit better. And as you do that for a long enough period of time, it forms it as a positive habit. Once it forms as a positive habit, then you can move on. It became natural. It just is kind of something that happens now. And you can move on to something else to work on, and that's your cycle of improvement. Last thing is just don't try to do everything all at the same time. We'll be covering so much in our sessions, but don't try to do all of it, because then that just gets overwhelming. Focus on one category of things, or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category to work on.
Mm.
Does all of that make sense? Any questions on it?
No, it makes sense because it is a lot. I notice it
Mm-hmm.
myself. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, let's keep going. Okay, so using a bit more cover here. That's good.
Mm.
But then once again, we're kind of out in the open. Okay, you can see how our crosshair's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
We're like
Yeah.
looking at the ground, shooting at the wall, shooting at the ground. Okay, kind of jumping straight into them, shooting at nothing. So, Positioning wise, you can see smack dab in the middle of the open, no high grounds when there's high grounds all over the place. So we're just gonna be taking a lot of extra damage here.
Here I switched up to Echo to train Echo because I wanted to actually test her out. I played her maybe 42 minutes of Echo so far.
Mm-hmm. It looks like your sensitivity may be a little high. It feels like we're having trouble like staying on target, right? Like we do like really wide swings a lot of the time. So you can see how like
Yeah.
we're like down off to the right all of a sudden, like in like a half a second, and then we're like, you know, all over the place. So that's either gonna be like a control thing or maybe you're a little high as well. Alright, let's talk about a bunch of things on Sojourn and Echo and even Bastion. Let's just if you're going to try to focus on some of those characters, it might be handy to know how their abilities work and things like that. Bastion, you seem to get most of his kit. Only thing is, note you can do rocket jumps by looking at the ground, shooting and jumping. You can like get to high grounds and things like that. Which can be handy, so I can like use it if I want to get up here or there. I can hold forwards, look at the ground, and then jump at the last second, right? And then I can jump up in the air and get a rocket jump. Besides that, you were pretty good with the rest of him. Now Sojourn, let's talk about a few things. Firstly, her disruptor shot has a 30-meter range, which is approximately this far, right here, 30 meters. And you can see that by when if you're looking for ranges, you can ping an enemy, and it'll say above their head the range you're at, right? So just keep that in mind when you're throwing them, is it won't go infinitely. It'll cap out. You also don't want to try to shoot your disruptor shot at enemies, because if you miss, it just goes sailing off into nothingness. But instead you want to aim at the ground, because the ground will have this giant splash radius, and it's gonna be, you know, it's not gonna move and dodge you. So you aim at the floor. You can also aim, if people are up on high ground, so you can aim at the ceiling or on walls, right? So we can aim up here, right? So that it explodes on the ceiling, right? Then with slide, I'm presuming you know that you can jump at the end of your slide, right? To get maximum distance, jump at the very end of your slide. To get maximum height, you're going to, actually, you know, I won't worry about that. That's some more advanced tech. I don't have to worry about that one. Shooting, notice that with your shots, you have spread over time. So your notice for the first 9 bullets you shoot, they will be straight, and then after that they're kind of gonna spread all over the place. So straight and then all over the place, right? Let's do it again. Straight and then all over the place, right? So that means that if we're back at a range like this and we're, you know, simulating, we're all moving around, if we're on that all over the place, it's just gonna be very ineffective damage. But if we keep it straight as we're doing it, then we have a lot more effective damage. So what I'd recommend is at ranges, you're going to want to tap fire. So it's 9 shots, let go, 9 shots, 9 shots, 9 shots, and you just give it a second to recharge, right? Usually I do that past like 25 to 30 meters. You would do that, is the 9 shots. Railgun. I mean, like, you used railgun once when it was like really low charge. If it's really low charge, it's not gonna do nothing, right? That's barely gonna do anything to them. Even if even if we hit the headshot, it's not gonna do very much. If you do the damage to the person, or let's say we don't do any damage to the person. If we don't do any damage to somebody, and we headshot, it'll do 195 damage. So it has the potential not to kill them. A lot of the times, if they're down any more than 5 HP, they'll probably die, right? But if we land a body shot, it's still not going to do that either. If we do the damage ourselves, then we can do 30, I think 35. 30 is, yeah, no go. So 35. So you just gotta find the right pacing for it. You don't want to shoot like a 30 bomb on somebody if you did no damage, because it's not going to do anything. A lot of times you want to combo it into your shots. So just go shoot, 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 shoot. And you're just railgunning as you're shooting. That way you're able to kind of land it very effectively. Alright, now let's go Echo, because we weren't using her beam right. Her beam, her focusing beam, firstly, the first thing to note is that it does, I believe, 2 times damage, or maybe even 3 times damage, I can't remember which, when it is used on somebody half HP or less. Right, if they're full HP, it does very, very little damage. Look how much damage this does if they're full HP. That's very little slow damage. I did like half their HP in like 2 seconds, right? I can 2-tap somebody much faster than that. Look, I can go tap tap and they're dead. So it's very slow damage. But now look at the difference if they're half HP. Right? Half HP, it burns through them very, very quickly. Even on a tank. Look how much quicker it'll be to burn them down. If I'm using this like this, it's doing nothing. Right? Look how much damage that did. Now let me get them to half HP. Okay. Right? Now look at that damage. Right? So, beam is going to be a really excellent way of finishing off kills. So you want to use it as a finisher. So we do a damage, and then we use beam to finish. Right? It also has a range, so note you can't just use it indefinitely. It has a 15-meter range. We were trying to use it from like back here, but it's not going to do anything until we step into 15 meters. So that's about here. So notice how it won't do anything until we step up to there. Right. So you gotta stay within that range. Other than that, your other shots don't have a range. So try to use those just from wherever. I think that was mostly it. I try to stick within that 15. Like if you're trying to finish off kills, try to play in that 15 meters. If you're just spamming, you play outside of that. But if you're going for your focusing beam, you can play inside 15 meters. I haven't seen your ult yet, but you know how to use Echo, yeah? Right. So try to typically use it on. Usually a lot of times tanks have really powerful ultimates, but you're trying to really get the most powerful ultimate possible that will charge as quickly as possible. Tanks a lot of the time have very powerful ultimates, and you'll be able to get their ults pretty quick. Some people have ults that are hard to get, like Zarya's might be a little bit hard to get because you have to get energy first. Genji might be a little bit squishy and hard to get it, but then other characters will be able to get it. So you're just looking for powerful ults that will be easy to get. Usually tanks and DPS are the best for that. So you'll see next time I use beam here that it's just you just look how we're trying to use it from too far away and nobody's low here. Standing smack dab in the middle of the open again, right? So really anywhere on the outskirts of the fight is gonna be better for you, or on the high grounds. That alone, you'll notice, will be a tremendous difference, because you'll not only take less damage, you also die less, which means you'll be able to do more, get more kills, practice more, and then it also will set you up to that positioning will put you in better spots to get kills, which you'll find will be handy. Right, beam again. Notice how we're jumping in without our teammates once again, right? So
Mm.
when we're going in, look around and look at the kind of the flow of the fight here, right? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. We have 3 people, right? Let's talk really quickly how to tell whether or not you've won or lost a fight. We'll probably repeat this in later sessions too, just give you the
Mm.
reminder.
Mm.
This is pretty pretty important thing because they're gonna have a lot of fights in Overwatch, and it's very handy to know whether you're winning them or whether you're losing them because that will change how you're playing. Watch kill feed. Kill feed's the top right corner of your screen. It tells you when people are up and down, and this is the very basics. There's a lot more in depth that you can go, but we're just starting with the very basics of watch who's up and who's down in kills. If you are up or down 1 or 2 people, that is an advantage or a disadvantage. Not won or lost, so it's still doable. But if you have an advantage, you play more aggressive. If you have a disadvantage, you play more passive. If you are up or down 2 to 3 people, that's going to be a 1 fight or a lost fight, in which case you play extra aggressive if you've won, or if you've lost, you get out if you can, and if you can't, you let them kill you. That way you don't stagger like we talked about before. And then you also don't want to use ultimates in won or lost fights, and you also don't want to push back into already lost fights. So if you see it's a 5v2, that's an already lost fight, and you probably just want to back out. And you can see that when walking back from spawn, because you can see, kill feed, you can see your teammates through the walls, right? So you'll be able to see
Mm.
how many teammates you have alive. Just watch as you're walking back. Does all that make sense? Any questions on it?
Yeah. Yeah. So you said
Mm-hmm.
if my team is killed, I should let myself be killed rather than trying to escape or fighting back.
If your whole team is dead, you can get out if you're able to get out. If you're like in the middle of their whole team and you can't get out, then it's best to just let them kill you, or you can even go and jump off the map, because you're trying to die as quickly as possible to stay in sync with your team. You can still, if you, unless you have your ultimate, you can still shoot them because then you can get them some ult charge. Maybe you get a kill, but you're still trying to let them kill you. So maybe you can like stand still while you're shooting at them.
Mm.
If you have your ult, then you don't need to. You'd just probably be feeding them ult charge.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Alright, and I think this is game.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. We got about we got about like 10 more minutes of review, and then we'll do a really quick wrap up.
Mm.
So I guess one question real quick. So I think we'll talk about scheduling near the end, but you
Mm.
also got 4 notes and 5 coaching sessions.
Mm.
Did you want just like one of the sessions without notes, or do you know which session you want that to be? I'd presume you probably want notes for this one.
Yeah, I want notes for this one because
Mm-hmm.
I was sure like at the end the
Yeah.
last session of reaching out probably won't need notes because
Mm-hmm.
I already have the basics down,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't take that one.
Sure. All right. Works for me. So I'll get you your notes afterwards. Do you have another replay, or would you like to just like cover more like we can cover basics of gameplay, or we can get into like we can go over more character specific things if you had questions about any characters or wanted to learn any more in depth on any characters.
Maybe we can do that next time because
Mm-hmm.
we have more time, but I prefer then to show you another replay real
Sure.
quick and
Mm-hmm.
with comments maybe is the right choice.
Sure. Go ahead.
Then give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
That should be it. Share. So the code is 03
Mm-hmm.
RN
Mm-hmm.
9 Epsilon. So Yankee.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Good to see.
Hmm. That's interesting. I haven't heard epsilon before. Is that like how you pronounce Y some places in the world, or
Yeah, some places in the world, yeah.
interesting? Whereabouts are you from then?
I'm from Luxembourg, but
Luxembourg.
at the
Interesting.
moment I'm in Georgia.
Oh, cool, cool.
Coming through. Dodge this. I'd stay down.
So
We're on the
I
move.
might be a new guy, but in this game everything went well, but
Mhm.
I felt like maybe I didn't get enough heals, but
Mhm.
maybe it was the positioning now that you
Yeah.
told me about things.
Yep. Positioning, things are gonna get you like take you less damage is like positioning, as well as playing, looking for health packs and playing for health packs. Also requesting
Hmm.
healing, right? Those are all gonna be things that can help you get more heals quicker. Um, yeah, health packs, generally speaking, you'll start to learn the maps as you play, but they're also
Hmm.
generally just like most of the time they're not going to be on the main path. Very rarely are they on high grounds. They can be in some specific scenarios, but you'll rarely find them on high grounds, right? Like, so you don't see it on this stretch here. You don't see it in this room over here. They're usually in off rooms. So if we come over to the right here, off room, mega, come over down over here, right, in this off corridor, mega, off room over here to the side, mini, right, and here there's not one, right, that's because it's just like a little off angle, um, where others, we're walking down here, they're not going to be on the main path, but coming off to over here, off angle, right, off room, not on the high grounds though, right? They're not up here, right? So you'll find that to be a common pattern on most maps is that health packs
Hmm.
are not on the main road, not often on high grounds. They can be, right? Off room, right? And then on maps like this, control maps, they're going to be perfectly symmetrical. So if you find a health pack on one side of the map in one place, it's going to be in the same place on the other side,
Okay, okay.
right? So that can maybe help you find them a bit easier. Using ability after they're dead again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Remember, you can use your railgun to like combo it into your shots. So you get him
Yeah.
down to like this HP, and you can just fire it at him to finish him off and burst his health down, which will stop him from getting away as in a lot of cases. The other thing is you're probably not gonna, because you're so far away from the fight. That's not like you're gonna use this railgun for anything else. It's gonna deteriorate by the time
Mm.
you're shooting at anything else. Probably. See.
Yeah.
Okay. Be careful about your ranging. Well, first we'll talk about ranging in a minute. We'll go to the training range for it. But also, just once again, notice how like we're really far pushed forwards, really far, out in the open. Be
Mm.
very careful because there's a lot of other characters that do closer range better than you do, right?
Mm.
So when you're on a character like Sojourn, what range is Sojourn as a character?
Let's say
Yeah.
mid to long range.
Yeah, I'd say generally mid-range. I'll show you why in the training range in a minute. But definitely not close range. You can play close range, but that's not a preference because a character like Orisa is going to be able to just like run her over and just like
Mhm.
shut her down if you're on top of her. There's other characters that do it better. Junkrat,
Mhm.
Reaper, Mei, Reinhardt, Junker Queen, characters like that, right? So that's why you don't prefer it. Let's just go over that really quickly. So what is your preferred range then? And we'll cover it really quickly on those other characters too. So Sojourn.
We're in this together.
Mm.
generally close range is generally speaking defined as within 15 meters, right?
Mm.
That's close range because then most close range characters, their capping point is usually somewhere around here, right? Mid range is generally 15 to 30 meters, right? And then most mid-range characters start to see their preference range within this, and then past that is long range typically. So like we just said, we talked about all the reasons why you're not close range, but why aren't you long ranged? Right? Because you have don't you have on Sojourn you shoot projectiles, so you don't have fall off damage, right? But there's other problems, right? From back here, you're going to struggle with the fact that you have your spread on your gun, right? So even if you're tap firing, well, then you're just having a slower fire rate, right? Which just means that overall it's going to be a little bit less efficient. So you're either firing a little bit slower, or you're missing more shots from your spread. Also, it's going to be smaller targets. This is much harder to hit than this is, right? Bigger targets are easier to hit. Also, you're not going to be able to land abilities from back here, right? Like, you can't use your disruptor shot from back here, right? So you're going to miss out on a lot of things that mean that you probably just want to be at about the 15 to 30 meters, right? Or so.
Okay.
You can play a little bit further depending on the situation, right? It's just going to depend, but you prefer that 15 to 30. Once again, you can ping to see where you're at, right? On other characters, like Bastion, for example, he's also going to be mid-ranged for some of the same reasons. He's going to have. Oh, I also forgot on Sojourn, because she's a projectile. Projectiles become difficult to land at ranges, especially the slower they are. Like that, it's going to be very hard to land at a range because by the time it gets there, they might have already moved, whether on purpose or on accident. Which just means that's another problem the further away you are. On Bastion, you're also going to struggle from fall off damage. So notice that from back here, takes, or I guess from up here, within your medium range, 1, 2, 3, 4 shots to kill. But when we get back here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots to kill, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots to kill, right? So you struggle from fall off damage, meaning the further we go, the less damage we're doing, and then we're also missing more shots, and we're missing more grenades. So you're overall just much less efficient. You're going to be able to get healed super easy, right? Your time to kill goes down a ton. Even like this, you're going to be having spread. You have spread on your weapon, so notice how slowly we kill them from back here. Right, because you have spread, you're missing more pellets, and they're also doing less damage per shot. So that's why even Bastion's a mid-ranged character. And then what was the other? Echo. Echo's gonna be a little bit more flexible because she can still do stuff from back here, but same principles. I'd still say this isn't her preference. She can play this range a little bit, but you're gonna be missing a lot of shots too. So I'd probably say your preference range, if you're trying to get kills, is that, or at least if you're finishing off things, is that 15 meters for your beam. But then you can play up to like that 30 meters. So I'd say approximately like 30 to 15, like 15 maybe preference, and then 30 meters you can go to. Alright, so let's really quick, I'll get your notes for the session, but probably ability usage was a low, medium priority for you to work on across all these different characters. Ults, I didn't see too many ults, but so it's like a low to medium. We'll probably go over more in later sessions. Priority for you to work on. Then your mechanics, crosshair placement, and pre-aiming, practice warm-ups. All that probably goes to medium, maybe even higher end of a medium, and then positioning. Positioning probably comes to that medium high. That's probably the biggest thing for the moment. And then next, awareness is probably like higher end of a medium. So to put that all in order, number 1 is positioning. Number 2 is probably probably say quite simple, probably awareness, right? Just the simplicity of just watch where your teammates are. Don't push in without them. Then next comes mechanics, then ability usage, and then finally ult usage is last. Any final questions?
No, everything is clear now.
All right.
Thanks.
Cool, cool. Well, let me